Hey everyone, welcome to Tom's Library. Grab a seat, relax, and join me as we reimagine classic stories from a whole new perspective. Plus, get ready to travel and explore the world, all from the comfort of your screen.
I am Elphaba. Before I was wicked, I was just a girl born green, seeking truth in a world of lies.
The sky, over the Munchkin borders, wasn't blue. To me, it was always the color of a bruised plum, heavy with a storm that never quite arrived. I was born into a world of vast, swaying cornfields and judgmental silences. But it wasn't the silence that defined me. It was the color of my skin. In the heart of the Great Plains, there's an unwritten rule. If you don't look like the soil, you don't belong to the land. I was born the color of a stagnant pond, a deep, mossy emerald that made the midwives gasp, and made my father turn his head in shame. My father was a man of the cloth, a man who spoke of grace, but practiced only gravity. He never once touched my bare hand. To him, I was a living omen, a physical debt he didn't remember owing. I spent my childhood in the shadows of the porch, watching the dust devils dance across the horizon. I learned early on that when people can't categorize you, they vilify you. The local children, they didn't need to be told to stay away. They could sense the static in the air around me. I was a shut-in, a ghost, haunting my own father's house. I grew up talking to the crows. They didn't care about my hue. They only cared that I had seeds in my pockets and a quiet soul. Those birds, they taught me more about survival than any sermon ever could. They taught me that if you're going to be an outcast, you might as well have wings. My mother, bless her tired heart, tried to protect me. She used long sleeves and wide-brimmed hats. But you can't hide the sun with a colander. I saw the way the townspeople looked at us. It wasn't just fear. It was a peculiar kind of hunger. They wanted me to be the monster they imagined, just so they could feel justified in their own decency. The bitterness, it didn't arrive all at once. It seeped in, like alkali water into a well. Slow and poisonous. I realized then that the world wasn't divided into good and evil. It was divided into the included and the others. As the sun sank behind the jagged peaks of the west, I made a silent vow to the darkening sky. If I couldn't be their neighbor, I would be their legend. If they wouldn't give me a seat at their table, I would build a castle where no one was invited. I wasn't wicked yet. I was just a girl who had realized that in a world of blinding light, the only place to breathe was in the dark. The road to the Emerald City wasn't paved with gold. It was a path of weary bricks and shattered illusions. By the time I reached those high, shimmering gates, I had traded my childhood innocence for a coat made of thick, protective cynicism. I had left the dust of my father's house behind, seeking a place where a girl of my particular shade might finally be seen for her mind rather than her complexion. Oz was a city built on perception. The guards handed out spectacles with green-tinted lenses. They claimed it protected the eyes from the city's brilliance. But I knew the truth. If you make everyone wear the same glasses, they all see the same lie. I walked through the streets, my long black cloak billowing like a shadow that had finally found its home. People stared, of course. In the provinces, they stared with fear. Here, they stared with a detached curiosity, as if I were an exotic bird, blown off course by a hurricane. The audience chamber was a cavern of smoke and mirrors. It was American showmanship, expanded to the scale of a god. Huge flames, giant heads, a voice that shook the floorboards. I am Oz. It roared. The great and terrible. I didn't tremble. I stood there, chin tilted, watching the light reflect off the hidden wires. I had spent my life dismantling the world, just to find a place in it. You are a man behind a curtain, I said. My voice cut through the echoes, like a cold blade. And you're burning far too much kerosene for a simple conversation. The smoke cleared, and out stepped a man who looked like he belonged on a porch in Omaha. Small, balding, with the nervous energy of a man running from a debt. People need a common enemy, Elphaba, he told me. His eyes gleamed with a terrifying kind of logic. And they need a hero to protect them. I can make you that hero. With your talent and my branding, we could rule this land. I looked at him. This man who had drifted here in a balloon and decided he was a king. He saw my skin as a brand. He saw my soul as a tool. And if I refuse? I asked. The wizard smiled. Then, my dear, you are remarkably well suited to play the other role. The villain. People are already halfway there, just by looking at you. All I have to do is provide the script. That night, I stood on the balcony. I held the ancient book of spells, the words humming under my fingertips. A language of old power. I realized then that the wicked witch wasn't a person. It was a vacancy. A role created by a society that needed a place to dump its shadows. The wizard was offering me the world. But the cost was my truth. I chose the shadow. I chose to be the whisper in the dark that tells the truth, even if it makes people uncomfortable. As the sun cast long, orange fingers over the spires, I took to the sky. I didn't fly toward the light. I flew toward the west. I heard the bells ringing behind me. I heard them shouting my name, already twisting it, already adding the word, wicked, to the front of it, like a brand. I didn't look back. I wasn't running away. I was moving toward the only thing I had left. My own power. Let them call me wicked. I whispered to the wind. At least they're finally calling me something. The West was not a place of comfort. It was a landscape of jagged stone and endless, whistling canyons. It was the ragged edge of Oz, where the wizard's green-tinted lies couldn't reach. I found my sanctuary in a fortress of cold basalt, a place that the locals called the Castle of Kinkala. It sat atop a lonely peak, like a jagged tooth, biting into the belly of the sky. There were no mirrors here, no spectacles, just the stark, honest gray of the mountains, and the emerald reflection of my own hands. I wasn't alone, for long. The Winkies, the people of the West, began to gather at my gates. They were a tired people. Their yellow silk clothes were frayed. Their spirits worn thin by years of hard labor under a sun that didn't care for their names. They didn't come to me because I was wicked. They came because I was the only one who didn't try to disguise the shadows. They brought me goat's milk and coarse bread. In return, I gave them what the wizard wouldn't. I gave them protection. Not with armies, but with the gravity of my presence. Blank, underscore, blank. I spent my nights in the highest tower, with the grimoire spread across a table of ancient oak. The book was alive. It didn't speak in whispers, it spoke in pulses. I learned the language of the unseen. How to weave the wind into a cloak. How to listen to the stones, as they told stories of a time before balloons and curtains. But power has a way of turning into paranoia. I started to watch the horizon. I used my one true eye, a glass focused by a spell of clarity. I watched for the glint of silver, or the flutter of a banner. I knew the script was being written, far away in the Emerald City. I knew that every time a Winky child got lost, or a crop failed, the wizard would point his finger west. He was building my legend, brick by brick, lie by lie. And then came the crows. My old friends from the cornfields. They flew over the mountains, their black wings tattered by the journey. They brought news of a house, falling from the sky. A girl, with pigtails, and a heart full of unearned praise. And the shoes. The silver shoes, that belonged to my sister. Nesseros. My heart, which I thought I had turned into stone, cracked. Nessa, who had spent her life in a chair, unable to walk the very earth she loved. Those shoes were her only dignity, her only freedom, and now, they were on the feet of a child, who didn't even know their name. The grief didn't make me cry. I had no water left in me for that. It made me heavy. It made me realize that the world wouldn't even let the others keep their memories. I stood on the battlements, looking toward the east. I didn't feel like a queen. I didn't even feel like a witch. I felt like a debt collector. Let her come, I whispered into the freezing gale. Let her walk the yellow road, in my sister's footsteps. She thinks she's following a path of destiny. But she's just walking into a story that I didn't write. But I am going to finish. The West was no longer just a refuge. It was a waiting room. And I was the only one who knew exactly what we were all waiting for. The horizon was no longer empty. Through my glass, I saw them. 4 figures, drifting across the yellow plains like dust motes in a sunbeam. They looked so small, so harmless. A girl, a hollow man of tin, a stuffed creature of straw, and a beast that walked with its tail between its legs. The wizard's champions. A collection of misfits, sent to do the dirty work of a man who wouldn't leave his green palace. They weren't coming for justice. They were coming because they had been promised scraps of a soul. A heart, a brain, a bit of courage. As if those things were coins that could be handed out by a charlatan. I watched the girl, Dorothy. She walked with a bounce in her step, as if the world were a playground and not a graveyard. And on her feet, they shimmered. The silver shoes, catching the light, mocking me with every step she took. Those shoes didn't belong to her. They were a stolen legacy, a piece of my sister, being dragged through the dirt by a child who sang to the sky. I felt the cold iron of my anger, turning into something sharper. Not a desire to hurt, but a desire to reclaim. To take back what was ours, and to show this girl that the West does not welcome tourists. I summoned the winged monkeys. They didn't come because I owned them. They came because I held the golden cap, a burden I had inherited from a time before the lies began. Go, I told Chistery, the leader of the troop. Oh, not harm the girl. She is protected by a mark that even I cannot touch. But bring her to me. Bring me the shoes, and let the others wander in the tall grass until they realize that Oz is not a fairy tale. I watched from the tower as the sky darkened with 1,000 beating wings. A storm of leather and fur. I saw the struggle in the poppy fields. I saw the Tin Man fall. I saw the Scarecrow unraveled. It was a symphony of disorder. And through it all, the girl screamed. A sound of pure, unadulterated confusion. When they finally brought her through my gates, she wasn't the hero the stories promised. She was just a child. Damp, shivering, and clutching a small, barking dog. She looked at my green skin, and she didn't see a woman. She saw a monster. Just like my father did. Just like the wizard did. Give me the shoes, Dorothy, I said. My voice was quiet, echoing through the basalt halls like a hollow bell. They were never yours to wear. They were a gift of sorrow, and they belonged to the shadows. But she shook her head. She held onto those silver heels, as if they were her only way home. She didn't understand that home is a place you build, not a place you find by following a colored road. I locked her in the kitchen. I made her scrub the stones. I made her carry the water, the very thing I feared most. I wanted her to feel the weight of labor. I wanted her to understand that life in the West is earned, not gifted. But every time I looked at her, I saw the reflection of the included. The girl who had everything, even the things she didn't deserve. And I, the other, was left to play the role of the jailer. The siege wasn't outside my walls anymore. It was inside, in the way she looked at me with those big, watery eyes. In the way the dog growled at a shadow it couldn't understand. I knew then that the water was coming. Not from a bucket, but from the tears of a world that would rather see me dissolve than admit that I was ever real. Soon, I whispered, leaning against the cold stone of my chamber. Soon, the script will reach its climax. And the girl with the silver shoes will finally wash the world clean of me. The air in the kitchen was thick, with the scent of wet stone and impending fate. I stood there, watching Dorothy. She was a small creature of habit, scrubbing the floors I had walked for decades. But I wasn't looking at her face anymore. I was looking at her feet. The silver shoes were practically humming. They knew they didn't belong in the dust of a kitchen. They belonged to the sky, or to the grave. And I, in my desperate, hollow greed, reached out. I tripped her, a simple, petty trick, and as one of the silver shoes fell away, I snatched it. I expected to feel power. I expected to feel my sister's heartbeat against my palm, but all I felt was cold metal. The shoe didn't recognize me. To the magic, I was just another shadow, trying to hold onto the light. Dorothy stood up. Her face wasn't filled with the heroic justice the wizard spoke of. It was filled with raw, childish anger. She saw me as the thief. She saw me as the obstacle between her and the Kansas she so desperately craved. "You have no right," she cried. And then, it happened. She grabbed the bucket. The bucket filled with the very thing that kept the world alive, but kept me in agony. The water, pure, clear, and merciless. She didn't mean to vanquish me. She just wanted to lash out, to hurt the thing that was hurting her. As the liquid hit my skin, it didn't feel like a bath. It felt like acid. It felt like the world was finally erasing a mistake. I fell to my knees. The basalt floor, which had been my only solid ground, now felt like a dream. I could hear my own voice, echoing, high and shrill. "Look what you've done," I screamed. But I wasn't screaming at her. I was screaming at the sky. At the wizard. At every person who had ever looked at my green skin, and decided I wasn't worth a name. I felt my bones softening, turning into liquid. The layers of my life, the rejection, the study, the power, the loneliness, they were all melting away. I was becoming the very thing I feared most. I was becoming nothing. "I'm melting," I gasped. My vision blurred. The Emerald City, the cornfields, the face of my sister, they all turned into gray mist. I looked up at Dorothy one last time. She looked horrified. She was realizing, too late, that I wasn't a monster. I was just a woman who had been liquidated by a story she couldn't control. The last thing I felt was the coolness. The fire in my blood was finally out. The heavy, emerald skin was gone. I was just water, a stain on the floor of a castle that would soon be forgotten. Dorothy would take the shoes. She would click her heels together, and she would go home. She would tell the world a story about a wicked witch, and how she was defeated by a good girl. And the world would believe her. Because the world loves a clean ending. But in the West, where the wind still whistles through the basalt, the Winkies will remember a different tale. They will remember the one who stood in the dark. The one who was green, like the first leaves of spring. And just as fragile. I am gone now, but the shadow remains.